All right, good evening, everyone. It's Friday, February 13, 2026, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Champaign, Illinois. You're watching Co-op for Two. You're joining me for a hastily scheduled playthrough tonight. I cannot see how many viewers are watching, but no more than a handful. Today we're going to play another box from the Magnus Protocol Mysteries, a supernatural themed cold case investigation game based on a podcast of the same name. Let's check in with the chat, see how everyone is doing. Jonathan says 15 viewers. Daniel Taylor is joining from Australia. All right, so let's do a little bit of bookkeeping before we get started here. Everyone knows what this shirt is from. One of my favorite series. Teresa says, I'm not going to stay on. Have a good stream and good night. Teresa is one of the fans of the channel that doesn't really watch the channel. It's a very interesting phenomena. Jonathan Warner knows what the shirt is from. Death Note. The anime, one of my favorites. Okay, little bit of bookkeeping before we get started today. We've been playing through, this is really starting to bug me. We've been playing through Ether Fields, Jonathan Warner and I, a board game that has a real narrative arc and some supernatural, surrealistic elements to it. I've been enjoying it. It's interesting that we've gotten a couple people who have played the game on their own previously, who have stumbled onto the channel, excited that we're playing this game from a few years ago. It's kind of fun. I think it's going to turn out that Ether Fields has a little bit of a cult following. Anyway, if you're curious, you can watch the previous two streams. I mention it because we haven't yet gotten into the meat, the heart of the game, but our next playthrough will. So you do have time to catch up if you want to join us for those. I also recorded a long design diary update for New York Noir recently. And the new New York Noir map and search tools are now online. You can use them. You can use them to play Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective as well. But if you're waiting for the tools to be available to start writing a case for New York Noir, now is your chance. What else should we talk about before we get into our history with this series? I believe Jonathan actually listened to the full podcast now of the Magnus Protocol. Before the Magnus Protocol, there was the Magnus Archive. And in our first playthrough, we played through The Woman on Fire, a medium-rated game. I was very suspicious that they had somehow produced 6 of these cases so quickly after the Kickstarter. And so I thought it wasn't, I had my doubts about whether it was going to be good, but actually we liked it quite a lot. It had some real supernatural element to it, but felt like it played by a certain set of rules that was enjoyable. And wouldn't you know it, on the heels of me being suspicious that they would have time to make 6 games, all created by Sidney Engelstein, the board game designer. They've just announced that there's going to be a new Kickstarter starting in March for another 6 cases. So if this is not enough for you, there'll be another additional 6 cases you can order. Kind of shocking, but we're going to see today if the quality holds up. for our next case. The audience is going to pick which of the 5 remaining cases we play today. We'll talk about we'll look at the difficulty levels and the topics, and we can choose. I did want to take this opportunity to thank the Patreon supporters of this channel. As you know, I have no relationship with any publishers. We don't get copies of these games for free, and we don't have any obligation to say good things about them if we don't like them. Part of that is possible because of the Patreon supporters of this channel. You make it possible for me to back these games. This set was a little over $100, I think, and it's the Patreon supporters that we should all thank for making it possible to bring this game to the channel. That subject, we'll have an agreement. You guys are going to put up with me talking about the Patreon regularly, and you're also you don't have to feel bad for not backing on the Patreon, but you can join me in thanking the Patreon supporters. But it's always useful to mention when there's another scandal in the board game YouTube world to remind you of how sort of distasteful the whole normal, accepted as normal practices are here with board gamers and YouTube and advertising. There was a recent kerfuffle with Rodney Smith and Watch It Played, and one of the contributors was purchasing inflated views and inflated subscribers and then charging advertisers on the channel by the view, and thousands of dollars for board game companies to pay to have their games featured on these YouTube channels, and these YouTube channels mixing in their reviews, which aren't paid for, with their previews, which are paid for. It's all an ugly mess. And every day I think how wonderful it is to not be anywhere near all that stuff, and how chummy the publishers are with the reviewers, and how they're in this vicious cycle of sort of hyping up games. I just love that we are not in that world. All right, so there's that. Anything else to discuss before we get started and pick out what game to play? The chat is having a discussion about Magnus Archives versus Protocol. The rules of the horrors are well established in Archives. In Protocols, the rules are different, but not established in the podcast yet. I could go into more details, but it would be spoilery. All right, let us decide which of these we're going to play today. Did I even turn on the top-down cameras? I think I did. All right, so we played The Woman on Fire. We're definitely not playing that one again. These two sets were kind of released oddly. Like, there was a main set, which is this set, and then this was like the bonus set you could order. You can get this, at least this one in retail, probably both of them. But the big difference between these cases are the listed difficulty levels. So that's what we should pay attention to. So difficulty levels are on the back. What might have been nice for them to list the difficulty levels on the lines, because it's a little bit of a pain to get these out. All right. What is... Oh, that's what we didn't talk about. We haven't talked about Valentine's Day. So it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. I am curious if everyone is encumbered, if everyone has a significant other that they're spending Valentine's Day with, or if you're lonely, wish you had someone. Maybe you have someone and wish you didn't. You don't have to reveal that all on YouTube, but I am curious what you guys are up to. There are people who take it very seriously and plan elaborate stuff. There are people who are much more casual about it. I guess my wife and I fall into the more casual category. We're going to go for a nice long walk, have dinner, make dinner together. That's about it. Maybe we'll watch a little bit of Alone series, maybe play a board game. I saw Good Luck, Be Happy, Don't Die. I loved it, but it is bizarre. The Spamonite says the grinning corpse speaks me. All right, I want to hear what you guys are doing for Valentine's Day. Okay, Psyche Lost said celebrated Galentine's Day with friends. I don't know if that's a typo or if that's some reference that I don't get, but you can explain it. While you guys are talking about your Valentine's Day, let's review the difficulty levels and topics here. So, the one we already played, Woman on Fire, is rated at 3 of 5 difficulty. Then we have a very intro case rated at 1 of 5. That is probably not for us, not for this group. Probably we will never play that. That leaves 4 remaining. We've got a level 2 difficulty, a little easier than the case we played already. A level 3 difficulty, same difficulty as Woman on Fire, which was good, a nice medium case. Then we've got a 5 of 5 difficulty, the hardest case in the set, and a 4 of 5 difficulty. So those are your choices. We could go a little bit easier than our last one. We could go same difficulty, or we could ramp up. Probably we don't want to jump all the way to the 5, right? So probably it's these 3. So we've got the Grinning Corpse, the Blackout, and the Last Supper. One is about someone in a coma with a grimacing smile. Sounds like the movie The Smile. One is a story about a boy in 1940s and a boy in 2022 connected. And one about a chef missing internal organs. So what's it going to be? Valentine's Day is February 13th. It's a friendship holiday. Okay, Dorp says, Grinning Corpse sounds maximum creepy. The Spamonite says, sticking with my vote for the Grinning Corpse. Isara says, tomorrow I'll be sleeping, going to work. All right, well, let's have our official vote. It sounds like people are thinking Grinning Corpse, but let's see what the official vote says. So just type vote and then which one you want to play. You've got Grinning Corpse, level 2, the Blackout, and the Last Supper. Daniel says, took my wife out last night for Valentine's Day in Sydney. Great night. All right, we've got a couple votes for Grinning Corpse. A vote for Blackout. You got to type vote and then the thing you're voting for. Otherwise, it won't register. I mean, it looks like we're going to play Grinning Corpse to me. All right. Let's get ready to play the Grinning Corpse. Put the rest of these away. All right. The Grinning Corpse it is. Are we going to get another introduction? So I suspect that the rules for all of these boxes are identical, but since we've only played one of them, let's have a little bit of a refresher. No turns, no rules, no set way to play. You get access to all the evidence. There are going to be a couple of audio recordings that we'll listen to on the tablet here. A reminder that these cases are set in England, so it's day, month, year, etc. A little tip here about when we look at text messages, phone screenshots, that the right is from the owner of the phone, the left is whoever they're having a conversation with. There is also a little reminder to ignore the time as not being relevant. All right, now here's a neat little thing about the supernatural element in these games. Unlike other mystery games, this is not a case of whodunit, but rather than finding the culprit of a crime, you must try to fully understand the circumstances of the incident, put together a complete timeline of events. Not all events will be able to be fully understood. If there isn't enough information about something to draw a full conclusion, you probably won't need to. Once you feel ready to finish the game, you'll take a short quiz about the details of the case to assess how accurately you've unraveled the mystery. Each case is different, but if you need direction, try the following checklist. Is there a supernatural manifestation? If so, what effect has it had? Of the people involved, have any been injured, killed, or otherwise meaningfully affected by the events? Can you trace a through line from when the supernatural event began to how things ended up at the time of the incident? Were these the same little tips from our Woman on Fire? They don't sound familiar to me. But basically, it's saying the goal isn't just to figure out who the suspect, who the killer is, but rather to just have a complete understanding of the case, especially the role of the supernatural. And then there's a very nice little description here of how to think about the supernatural elements in these cases. It says, don't worry, you won't need a guidebook for how the supernatural works in order to solve this case. You don't even have to have listened to the Magnus Protocol podcast. Pay attention to the details of the evidence, follow where they're pointing. If all the evidence is pointing to a solution that isn't physically possible in our world, trust your gut. That's probably the truth. If you find yourself thinking, well, there isn't any evidence hinting towards it, but technically some crazy superpower could have just made all this happen? That's probably not the answer. The supernatural element may not necessarily be a demon or a ghost or something you've heard of. Sometimes the case will be a normal situation that has one aspect which is physically impossible or just somehow spooky without fitting into a classic category. Don't forget to explore these possibilities too. These cases will never require you to call any phone number. They're just for flavor. Don't call phone numbers. And then here's a little thing about the online elements where we're going to scan it to answer questions. They're not designed with the assumption you'll need to Google information. It should all be self-contained. Occasionally it might tell you that you need to go online for something. If it's something that a layperson wouldn't know, it'll either be explained or it won't be needed. But if you want to, it says you can look it up. It also includes these floppy disks, which just have QR codes to listen to some audio. Each mystery comes with at least one puzzle. They may be obvious. Give it a try. There's no penalty for being wrong. No time limit, but there is a final little quiz and epilogue. All right. So basically the same as the previous case we played. All right, let's get out our evidence from this box. We could go through it in any order, but let's read the intro letter and see if it has some guidance for us. Remember, you can only play these cases once, then the mystery is resolved. So as much as I'd love to have you join me for this, if you think at any point that this seems like a game that would be great for your group to play, you might consider stopping watching, leaving, playing it on your own, come back watching this video after your group finishes to see how we differed. All right, let's get started here. Office of Incident Assessment and Report, missing a space. Welcome to the Office of Incident Assessment and Response. We at the OIAR are pleased to have new staff aboard as our current caseload has grown too unmanageable for our current employees to handle. As you may know, the OIAR is a branch of the UK government in charge of the collection and cataloging of unnatural events taking place within our country. Our proprietary computer software, FR3-D1, has the unique ability to scan the internet, phones, and any digitized data for evidence of supernatural activity. As government agents, nothing is outside of our purview, considering our work directly correlates with public safety. This incident has been sent to you for further investigation into the condition Mr. Walters is suffering. Natural medicine seems incapable of explaining his contorted facial expression, so we must look for a deeper explanation. Before you turn in your report, I'd expect you to know the circumstances under which Mr. Walters first entered his coma, including what caused it. Additionally, find out what is causing this incessant smiling, when it began, and how it entered Mr. Walters' life. I'm aware the particulars of this case may be off-putting, including potential references to medical trauma, altered mental states, loss of bodily autonomy, and depictions of racism. But I assume you wouldn't have accepted this job if you weren't prepared for it. Your co-workers, Sam, Alice, Celia, and Gwen, are currently out on another assignment, so you won't be able to ask for their assistance. But I believe they've left behind some of the information from their preliminary work on this case that should be helpful to you. If you see post-it notes or written feedback from them on the documents provided, use those to assist you in reaching your final conclusion. The reverse side of this letter contains everything you need to begin. So we've got a little list of the contents. If there's something missing, we can get it. And then we've got these little post-it notes from our colleagues. And one is for hints, and one is when we're ready to solve the case. So nice little structure here, but we don't need those for now. All right, no suggestion of where to start. So it's just on us to start. I wouldn't mind. Normally there's like a newspaper article or something, but here it seems like no good obvious place to start. All right, we've got a little voicemail here. Hi, Mr. Walters. This is Sydney calling from Red's Pharmaceuticals again. Your prescription is no longer available for pickup since you haven't come in to receive your medication within 3 weeks of your refill date. We are restocking your medication and you'll need to go back to your doctor to get a new prescription before you can pick it up from here again. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call back. Have a nice day. Okay, so by the time this call came in, he wasn't picking up his medicine. I mean, he's in a coma. Seems like we should be looking for a... Oh, here we go. Incident report. Let's start there. And then maybe we'll listen to the audio. Okay, let's see if this police report is of any help. Birmingham Police Incident Report. So we've got day, month, year, we said, right? Day, month, year. So March 5th, the 5th of March, 2019. 2 vehicles, 1 injured. Louis Bustamante and Brian Walters. Careless driving. On March 5th, 2019, the weather was clear and dry. Vehicle 2 was driving down Center Street, approaching the crossroads with Mountain Street from the east, approximately 50 miles per hour. Vehicle 1 approaching the same crossroads from the south. Vehicle 1 reached the stop sign shortly before Vehicle 2 reached the crossroads. Vehicle 2 had right of way due to there being no stop sign facing east. According to driver testimony, Vehicle 1 did not see the stop sign, pulled at full speed into the crossroads. Front passenger side of V2 collided with the front driver's side of V1, damaging both cars. Occurred at approximately 3:58 p.m. Driver 1 uninjured. Driver 2 was bleeding from the head, did not exit the vehicle. According to driver 1, he seemed to be trying to do or find something in his car. But driver 1 was not concerned because driver 2 was smiling and did not appear distressed. Driver 2 collapsed onto the steering wheel. Driver 1 called emergency services. Driver 2 was taken to hospital in an ambulance. Vehicle 1 and Vehicle 2 both towed to Ray's Auto Repair. He was smiling. Okay. All right, you think we should listen to the audio first, huh? So this, let's just look at these. Here is the guy, and he appears to be smiling in a coma. I think that's what we're understanding. You can see there's medications, there's coffee, there's a card here, which is a card that we have in our collection, Get Well Soon. And what's this? Brian Walters. Okay, normally quite a smiler. So that looks like our victim our person suffering. Well, he was normally smiling. Let's just see what... Got all these... Lots of text messages and stuff. What are these folded pieces of paper? They're emails. Okay, so lots of emails and then glove box. All right, let's do what Jonathan said. Let's start with the audio. Where is our audio? Here. Okay. It says email from Walters. I don't know why an email is voicemail, but maybe we'll find out. Email from Walters M. March 6th, 2019. Day after the car accident.
To Lucille Sathura, LucyJuiceX@mailservers.com. From Madison Walters, Ladybug Daydreams 1993 @mailservers.com. Date March 6, 2019. Subject Ray. Ray. Hospital visit. You can look down on me all you like, Lulu. I honestly don't care anymore. You can judge me and call me a bad person and tell me that there's a special place in hell for selfish monsters or whatever you're going to say next, because I know you're incapable of just letting this go. But that isn't going to make me visit him. You don't get to saying this, and you're not going to sway me with some little words on a computer screen from all the way across an ocean. You don't know what it was like. You aren't there, and he's not your brother. You can't tell me you don't remember what it was like last year with my mum. It wasn't even that long ago, so you know full well that I was there every single day by her side. It didn't matter if I was busy with work or with Richie, I was there by her side in the hospital every single chance I could. And you know I hated it. I hated the thin hollows of her cheeks and her neck and the way she was more sickness than my mum. The pitted version of her it left behind, half out of breath from a single joke. But I still went. I'm not a coward. But this time, I can't. I can't go back. After I heard what happened, I was the first one to his room. It was like muscle memory, the smell of that place, the EKG machines beeping, the shuffle of no-slip shoes. It was like my mum was dying all over again, only this time I was by myself. And when I got to Brian, it was so much worse. The doctor told me he was in a coma, but it's not like how you see it on telly, like they're sleeping. Isn't that what they always say? Oh, he's in a coma, but he just looks like he's sleeping. Brian did not look like he was sleeping. The doctor said it's abnormal, but surely there's an explanation. Asked if Brian had ever gotten Botox or plastic surgery or something. Would have made me laugh if I wasn't on the verge of vomiting. His whole face was straining under the weight of a huge corny grin. I could see his cheek muscles shaking from the force of it, aching from a smile I'd only seen on him in old family photos when Grandad told him to hold that face for the camera. Plastic and unnatural. His eyes were open too, focused up at the ceiling. It felt like a plastic mask of my brother's face strapped onto him. Something in me wanted to just reach out and rip it off, to try and free him from that awful, painful smile. But I didn't want to look mad in front of the doctors. I just thanked them for the information, gave them my info in case his condition changed, and I left. I won't go back, Lulu. Not again. I don't want to see him like that. Madison.
All right, so we're listening to a voicemail of our victim's sister, Madison. And she says she went and visited him in the hospital, and he's in a coma with this terrible smile. Do we want to listen to it again? All right, let's listen to it again with. Oh, sorry.
1993 at mailservers.com.
Let's listen to it
Basile
again
Sathuram,
with closed
Lucy Juice
caption.
X at mailservers.com. From Madison Walters, Ladybug Daydreams 1993 at mailservers.com. Date March 6, 2019. Subject Ray. Ray. Hospital visit. You can look down on me all you like, Lulu. I honestly don't care anymore. You can judge me and call me a bad person and tell me that there's a special place in hell for selfish monsters or whatever you're going to say next, because I know you're incapable of just letting this go. But that isn't going to make me visit him. You don't get to saying this, and you're not going to sway me with some little words on a computer screen from all the way across an ocean. You don't know what it was like. You aren't there, and he's not your brother. You can't tell me you don't remember what it was like last year with my mum. It wasn't even that long ago, so you know full well that I was there every single day by her side.
So she was in the hospital
It didn't matter
with
if
her
I was
mother
busy with
when her
work
mother
or with
died.
Richie. I was there by her side in the hospital every single chance I could. And you know I hated it. I hated the thin hollows of her cheeks and her neck and the way she was more sickness than my mum. The pitted version of her it left behind, half out of breath from a single joke. But I still went. I'm not a coward. But this time, I can't. I can't go back. After I heard what happened, I was the first one to his room. It was like muscle memory, the smell of that place, the EKG machines beeping, the shuffle of no-slip shoes. It was like my mum was dying all over again, only this time I was by myself. And when I got to Brian, it was so much worse. The doctor told me he was in a coma, but it's not like how you see it on telly, like they're sleeping. Isn't that what they always say? Oh, he's in a coma, but he just looks like he's sleeping. Brian did not look like he was sleeping. The doctor said it's abnormal, but surely there's an explanation. Asked if Brian had ever gotten Botox or plastic surgery or something. Would have made me laugh if I wasn't on the verge of vomiting. His whole face was straining under the weight of a huge corny grin. I could see his cheek muscles shaking from the force of it, aching from a smile I'd only seen on him in old family photos when Grandad told him to hold that face for the camera. Plastic and unnatural. His eyes were open too, focused up at the ceiling. It felt like a plastic mask of my brother's face strapped onto him. Something in me wanted to just reach out and rip it off, to try and free him from that awful, painful smile. But I didn't want to look mad in front of the doctors. I just thanked them for the information, gave them my info in case his condition changed, and I left. I won't go back, Lulu. Not again. I don't want to see him like that. Madison.
Okay, so that's the sister. Now, who is Lulu? That person that she's talking with? Because I can see we have a bunch of text messages with someone named Lulu. Let us go through our text messages here. Maybe we can sort them by date. We've got March, previous November, March, January. Okay. So way back in November, we've got a text message with Lulu. She says, "Good morning, teddy bear." He says, "Good morning, babe. Nice timing. I'm on lunch break right now." I'm assuming this is our guy, Brian Walters. She says, "Time difference is killing me. Can't even wish you a proper good morning. You're the one who picked a grad program in America. LMFAO, digging your own grave there. Just couldn't stand a moment longer in our country. So you picked America? Crazy girl. Hey, opportunity came a knocking and I answered the door. Not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth or whatever. Kick butt at work. Gonna infuse positive work energy for you into my morning cleanse." Okay, so is this fiance or something of our guy, Brian Walters? Here we are a little more than a month later. I don't understand what you're so upset about. She says, screw you, Brian. You know exactly why. Okay, now we have confirmation. This is Brian's phone. We literally just had a conversation about how you couldn't possibly come visit for Valentine's because tickets were too expensive. And now I have to see from your freaking Insta that you bought a car. Do we have a car? Do we have a Christine situation going on here? He's bought a car in January, and then he's crashed it in March. And is he acting strange about this car? He says, I don't have the money because I've been saving up for a car, babe. You know that. I needed this car. The bus route barely got me to work on time. Tina's been writing me about missing her weird morning team building type session or hype session or whatever it is. She says, or did you just want to show off in front of your stupid friends? That's not fair. The job helps me get the money I need to visit you. Big help that is if you spend that money on everything but me. It's been almost a year since I've seen you. I should be your priority. You know, you could also come back sometimes. I barely make enough selling spells online to pay my university fees. Not all of us are rolling in car money. I need to go. My shift is starting soon. Of course it is, she says. All right, now here is Maddie. She goes, Bri, I can't believe you. Happy wedding, Mads. This is too much, really. You shouldn't be putting yourself out like this just for me. That's not for you to worry about. I want you to have the perfect honeymoon. I've never gotten to take care of you since Mom passed. Let me do a little something now. Don't be concerned about me. Things are really looking up at work. Everything is going to be fine from now on. I have no idea what's been going on with you lately, but I'm glad it's working out. I hate to see you struggling, and thank you so much for the gift. So he's come into some money, and now he's sent her money. This is the sister. He says things are going well at work, and we can see in this photo. So there are dates here. In January, he's become Employee of the Month, and February, he's still Employee of the Month. He's smiling, but it's not a huge smile. This is the month before the crash. Okay, here's Lulu again in March 1st, 4 days before the crash. She sends a message to him. Looking cute and thinking of you, Teddy. Work hard today. Make that plane money. Set up an extra powerful energy spell for you today. Bought the good incense and everything. I'll infuse you with the power to work extra hard and stay energized all day. Seems like you need all the magical help you can get. No reply. This is March 1st. And here he seems to be not picking up his medicine on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Here's March 2nd. Ina is leaving him a message. The same person. These are these voice messages from Tina. So actually he's responding to Tina. Can you pick up an extra shift right after the rest you're working this Tuesday? Nobody else is available. He says, sure, as long as I can leave from it about 15 minutes early. I have a doctor's appointment. Tina says, that'll be difficult. You wouldn't get the full shift pay. He says, how about just 5 minutes early? That should be fine. I can see if someone else can come in slightly earlier, or I'll take over the till for a bit. And then he says, thanks, Tina. So 3 days before the accident, which seems to be where all this bad stuff happened. So this is his boss, Tina. Okay. And here we have some posts. Is this where he's going to get a car? January, February, October. Okay, here is October. He's not smiling. Up at 5, heading to work with a mindset for the grind. Okay, so he's serious about his work. And there's his handle. Moneymaker's Shot Taker. Moneymaker's Shot Taker. Okay. January. Going home in a brand new ride. This is what hard work and dedication gets you. Never stop dreaming. Never stop grinding. Working my way right to the top. Okay, so here's his post. January 2nd. And then here is the text message the next day from Woo Woo saying, you just said you couldn't come visit me. Now you bought a car. Posts about his car. She talks about it. And Jonathan is saying, Jesse, you should check what the Spamonite posted. Wake up with a smile. Tune in to XSML 10 something. It's a radio station. The best way to start your day. Okay, so is this a radio station that he's listening to in his car that has caused all this problem? Some crazy radio station that is wake up with a smile? Interesting idea. Okay, so there's his car. Now here he is, February 4th, posting a photo from his car, listening to a radio. Got my frap in hand and radio turned up, ready to make that money, whatever it takes. Anything? This is an interesting theory about it being this crazy radio station. XML 10, that's all we know about the radio station. Can't really tell if it's anything, if that's what he's listening to, but it is a bit suspicious that we can see some of this. Okay, February 4th, he seems normal though. All right, this is the card that we can see is on his bedstand. Is there anything else on his bedstand that we need to pay attention to? He's got a coffee cup, he's got some sort of hospital machine, and he's got medications. So what is this card? Oh, it's from his friends, possibly his work people. It's been so weird around the store without your smile. Get well soon, Penelope. Many thoughts and prayers are with you as you go through this challenging time. Miss you, Angela. Hope you recover quickly, Jeffrey. We'll be waiting for you to come back to work. It just won't be the same without your cheerful attitude. Get well, Kira. You're the light of the workday. I don't know how you stay so positive all the time. I admire the hell out of you. Hope you feel better soon, Lonnie. Best wishes, Dominic. Get well soon. I need my best worker back, Tina. Okay, everyone likes him and he's a good worker. This doesn't seem all that... I don't see any clues here, but we do have handwriting samples and stuff. Okay, what have we got here? We've got a reception for the sister Madison. Madison and Everett Clay, January 13. Request the pleasure of your company as they're joined together in holy matrimony, 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Rose Manor House. Okay, and we know that his sister has emailed him saying, I can't believe what you gave me for my wedding. Too much. You shouldn't put yourself out for me like this. So he sent her the gift on January 10th or 11th ahead of this reception. Nothing on the back of this card. All right. And we have a whole bunch of emails. And what's this? So here's his profile on Instagram, I guess, and then a note from our coworker. I could have wasted my time translating this, but I don't get paid to just muck about like you do. Oh, he's writing in code to someone that we don't know. That's interesting. He's writing in code to someone called A to Z. Okay, well, if we're looking at a Caesar cipher or a substitution code, you can see here's the single letter R, which probably matches to an I. Starting a sentence with that single letter, it's probably not an A, so probably an I. So let's just see if we're going to get lucky with an easy Caesar cipher where R turns to I, or if we're looking at a reversal of the alphabet. All right, so if R turns to I, X goes to O, Z goes to Q. That doesn't seem right. M goes to D. That's not right. But A to Z, I wonder if that's a clue that this is an @bash with A turning into a Z. @bash is the cipher where the alphabet reverses itself. Look, R and I. Okay, so that's what we've got. We've got an @bash cipher here. And we can now decode this. If it was longer, I'd go and use an online tool, but I feel like it's probably short enough we can just translate it here. DSZG WH A T. What THE? What the IELL? What the hell? What the hell, comma, IKEEP. I keep DR. Sorry, DROP. I keep dropping O off. I keep dropping off LIKE. I keep dropping off like HAL. H-A-L. F W A Y. I keep dropping off like halfway. T H R Maybe I should have just used an online tool. Okay. T H R U halfway through T S halfway through GSV T H E halfway through the. I keep dropping off halfway through. Okay, so he's talking about reception or something. WZB is DA halfway through the day. He says, what the hell? I keep dropping off halfway through the day. By XCM is CECA NT. I can't. TVG G E T. I can't get my. I can't get my DLIP WOR. Okay, I can't get my work. This is gonna be I thought it was gonna be done. I can't get my work. LIK GSRH T I T H I. I can't get my work like this. I can't get my work done like this. Okay. I keep dropping off. I can't get my work done like this. I wonder if he's having trouble with or something. Okay, I'm getting a little bit tired of typing this, of doing this manual decoding. If someone's got the translation using a tool, I'm happy to take it. Otherwise, we'll just do @bash online. Try to get one. Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll go to an @bash site, but why don't we take our break here first? I'll see you in 8 minutes. We're back. I have put this into the online tool, and here is the decoded version of our message here. He says, "What the hell? I keep dropping off like halfway through the day. I can't get my work done like this." Then the reply from this guy is, "I told you it won't work as well on your phone." And then he says, "What? Buy a ham radio?" And he says, "That'd work as long as there's waves." So it does seem, and then they've got some deleted messages. So this sounds very suspicious. Like there's some supernatural radio broadcast. He needs it to get his work done. I keep dropping off. I can't get my work done like this. It won't work as well on your phone. Okay. They've got some supernatural radio station type deal. Very interesting. All right, what's next? How about we jump to the contents of his glove box? So it says contents of glove box ND18 SRE, which we can see is his car. So what was in the glove box? Receipt, check, note, and bill of sale from his car. Okay, let's take a look at this, because it seems like it all started with this car. Gavin Rich is the seller. $13,000. He sold this car. A 2018 Seat, whatever that is, with this VIN number. I, the undersigned seller, do sell the above described vehicle to the buyer for the amount shown. I certify that all the information provided is true and accurate. I, the buyer, acknowledge receipt of this bill of sale. Understand there's no guarantee or warranty. December 13, 2018. From Gavin Rich to Brian Walters. The 30th day of December. So December 30, he buys it. And then he posts about his new car on January 2nd. Okay, seems all consistent. We've got its VIN number. It's a 2018, so it's a brand new car. Gavin Rich. Okay. I mean, that's nothing in there jumps out. But what have we got here now? Okay, here's a check from his boss to Brian for Employee of the Month. That's the bonus. So you get a bonus of £1,000 if you're Employee of the Month. This was his check at the end of February. Now we know where he works. Kinsel's Groceries and More in Birmingham. Okay, nothing jumps out at being wrong about that. But here's a note. Never go longer than 10 hours. This is interesting. Okay, here's a note from Tina. Brian, I know you already got a formal censure in your employee file. I wanted to write a note to express my own personal disappointment. You've been with the Kinsel's family for a long time now, and you're an exceptionally dedicated worker. I'd like to see you moving up the ladder here, but your attitude simply makes it impossible. Even more disappointing than that is the excuses you make for the complaints you receive. None of your coworkers have these problems. The other morning shift members all come in early and participate in my morning huddle. It makes them motivated and positive for the rest of the day. I find it deeply disappointing you continue to miss this critical team building activity. I'm sure that is part of the reason you continue to be my most problematic employee. Please find a way to improve your performance. I'd hate to need to take regrettable steps. How weird. Okay, so here she is complaining that he doesn't make it to her special hype meeting, which we know came up in the topic with the girlfriend who said, when he was explaining why he needed to buy the car, he says, Tina's been writing me about missing her weird morning team building. So 3rd of January, he's having trouble getting to work on time, etc. He buys a new car, and she's complaining. No date on this. We have no idea what this is, who that's from. Where's our card? Do we have a Gavin in here? Angela, Jeffrey, Penelope, Lonnie, Dominic, Tina, Kira. Okay, anyway, so he's having trouble at work. He's getting reprimanded. She's saying you're the most problematic employee. Then in February, he's employee of the month. January 3rd, I'm not making to the hype meetings. I needed a car. So this note is around January or a little bit before. January, he's the most problematic employee, and by February, he's employee of the month because of this car. It's really turned his whole life around, this car. And what's this? Wiggly's Coventry seat. He bought a burger, a fries, and a soda. $99.2. That sounds like the station. 99.2. Something 0.9. 99.2. Never go longer than 10 hours. That's weird. It is something with this radio station, but what, I don't know. So here he is. He's bought this burger on the 3rd of January. I don't think this is important, but this is. The note is from before he got his car, which is why he was so insistent on getting. Yes, okay. He needed the car. Sounds like he wasn't positive. He needed the car radio. Couldn't take the radio on the bus with him. Okay. all we have left is our stack of emails here. Let's organize them. Employee warning. All right, why don't we, let's not organize them. Let's just randomly go through them in whatever order we have them here. Okay, so here's his warning from 2017. No, I'm sorry. The 20th of July in 2018. Dear Brian, at Kinsel's, we recognize the importance of maintaining a consistent and experienced workforce, maintaining workplace standards, retaining our employees wherever possible. Kinsel's wants to retain you as a team member. However, some changes to your behavior at work are needed to ensure your employment can continue. We're issuing a written warning because you failed to meet the performance we expect of you as outlined in your terms of employment. Specifically, your behavior with customers is unacceptable. Multiple complaints about feeling threatened by your aggressive attitude and expression. At Kinsel's, we pride ourselves on having a welcoming and friendly environment, and we require our employees to always be cheerful and ready to help. July 15th, 2018, you received a verbal warning for not greeting customers with a smile. This written warning marks an opportunity for you to correct your unsatisfactory behavior. Yikes. So Sam has written, yikes. Oh, I think maybe this is one of our workers. Glad I don't work in retail anymore. I forgot just how soul-crushing the old beep beep could be. Behavior to be considered satisfactory, you must begin to maintain a smile or friendly atmosphere with customers within 4 months. Your failure to meet the condition of this written warning, the development of new or related problems, and or a continued unsatisfactory performance will lead to more serious corrective action up to and including the termination of your employment. If your behavior does not change, you will receive one additional final written warning before your employment here is terminated. We believe you add significant value to our company. Hope you will work to improve your behavior. This warning will be added to your employment record for 6 months. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. So he's a bad employee with a bad attitude. He never smiles and is nice to customers. And then something has happened. He's gotten this car and he's become employee of the month and he can't stop smiling. Like he's gotten some medication or some supernatural radio has made him. Is this what it is? Radio isn't just for your car. Listen to your favorite radio station on your computer. Free radio site. Oh, there's our guy who wrote in the secret message, I found something life-changing. DM me if you want to know more. Okay, here we go. This is it. This is where it all starts. So on the Blewett page, which is like Reddit, Blewett Reddit, he's posted, I'm sick of entitled customers. He says, I know this is nothing groundbreaking. Honestly, service jobs would be 1,000 times more enjoyable if I didn't have to be dealing with people all day. It's made twice as bad because my attitude with them gets me written up by my boss. Their attitude with me has absolutely zero consequences. Today, a lady came in with her daughter, who I'm sure is going to grow up just as bad as this absolute charmer of a role model, came through my checkout lane. I tried to make the usual required small talk. Did you find everything okay? Do you have a rewards card with us? And all that. She just kept giving me really weird looks. I'm used to people brushing me off and not looking me in the eye, but just not responding at all when she clearly heard me was so much weirder. Plus, she had a death grip on her daughter's hand. I could see her knuckles turning white from it. She kept tugging her back behind her, even though she wasn't misbehaving or anything. Finally, I went to hand her receipt. She practically ripped it out of my hands. I offered to help her bag her purchases. No one else was behind her in line. Honestly, I can't afford another write-up about being unfriendly and unhelpful. And that's when she full on snapped. She started practically screaming about how I needed to back off, stop threatening her. I think she mentioned having a personal alarm in her bag. like ridiculously over the top. I don't think I said a single word to her that wasn't on the official store script, let alone made any threats, but she was basically acting like me holding eye contact with her was a goddamn knife at her throat. The worst part is I just stood there apologizing, because what else can I do? I just apologized for my attitude, for my words, for my existence, basically. The only good news is she hustled her and her daughter out of the store so fast, I don't think she had time to complain to my manager. I just feel like I can't win sometimes. Sounds like a real gem of a Karen, mate. That sucks thoroughly. 1330 says, I could barely read this. I was cringing too hard. And then here is our guy who he was having an encrypted conversation with. And this guy writes, I used to have the same kind of issue, but I found something life-changing. DM me if you want to know more. And then our guy replies, bugger off with that clickbait. I'm not going to be in retail long anyway. And here's an ad for radio you can listen to on your phone or your car, which seems to line up with his message here about how he needs to be able to listen to it, but it's cutting off during the day. And this guy says, what, get a ham radio or something. So it sounds like he needed to get some trick to put him in to make him smile and be happy. And this guy knew a secret. Is the secret the radio station you have to listen to? And do you have to constantly be listening to it or something bad happens? All right, let's keep going. Aha, it's another post on the Blue Is site. How to fix resting B. He's got resting bitch face. I'm sick of getting written up for having a bad attitude when I'm literally just existing at work. My coworkers don't seem to have this problem, so I think I may just have an angry resting face or something. Has anyone else dealt with this? Any suggestions on how to stop getting written up for this? I've talked to my manager. She doesn't care at all. She says customer experience is the only thing that matters, and that if I can't have a pleasant face, drastic measures really need to be taken. I'm a hard worker. I'm dedicated to the company. I swear this is the only thing keeping me from moving up here. Help me out. This guy says, I've read practicing smiling can help. Like you sort of have to train your face muscles into being in the right shape rather than naturally going into a frown. I don't know if it actually works, though, because I've never tried it. Hope this helps. There's legit plastic surgeries for this. A couple face fillers in the right place will push your smile right up without feeling any effort at all. I actually was just talking to someone about this on the plastic surgery subreddit. You could follow up there. And here's our guy, A to Z. He says, listen, bruv, I used to have the same issue. I've got just the thing for you. DM me for details if you're ready to change your life. Guaranteed I'll get you a raise in no time flat. And here's another ad for this thing saying radio isn't just for your car. So this A to Z guy ends up hooking him up with something, but we don't know what he hooked him up with. Here's his work schedule. Now, he did say that he had to leave early, right? So on March 2nd, she says, can you pick up an extra shift? And he says, as long as I can leave about 15 minutes early, I have a doctor's appointment. On March 2nd. But that's the day after. Sorry, this is sent on the 2nd. Can you pick a shift right after the rest you're working this Tuesday? This Tuesday. Can you pick up an extra shift? So he was supposed to be off, and he's had to come in. Here is the day when he says he has a medical appointment. So it feels like from 2 to 4 p.m. he has to leave a little early. So it sounds like his appointment is at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, because he says he has to leave 5 minutes early for a doctor's appointment. So I think he's leaving 5 minutes early for the doctor's appointment on the 5th. And he gets into a car accident on that day at 3:58. So look at our timeline here. The boss tells him, I need you to fill in on March 5th from 3 to 4, 2 to 4. And he says, I can do it, but I have to leave before 4 p.m., 5 minutes early, because I have a doctor's appointment. And then he leaves 5 minutes before 4, 3:55, gets into his car, is driving to his doctor's appointment, and crashes. So something about having to get to that doctor's appointment and that message about no longer than 10 hours. So like, did he have to get to this doctor's appointment to stop him from freezing in this smile coma? And because he got into this crash, when 4 p.m. came, did it trigger? That's what it feels like is going on here. So the schedule and the note tells us that he had a doctor's appointment at 4, and he got into a crash on his way to it. Okay. And now here we have the repair when he got into the crash. Car radio non-functioning. So he got into a crash and it broke the radio. This is his crash, right? Towed to raise auto by emergency. This was the crash that put him into the coma, but maybe we're being shown here though that it wasn't a crash that caused severe injury to him, but it broke the radio. And that's what's caused the problem. Okay, next. Okay, here we go. Here's his medical chart for the day of the crash. He's taking an antidepressant and a blood pressure reduction medicine. Patient is in a persistent vegetative state. Initial examination showed minor head injury, no stitches required. Cranial x-ray showed no brain damage. So they don't know why he's in a coma. Facial muscles show strong rigor in smiling pose, resistant to muscle relaxants. His mother had cancer or something, early onset muscular degeneration in grandfather and father. That's totally unrelated to our stuff. Okay, this is just him in the hospital after the crash. And they're just saying that the medications wouldn't cause this and the crash wouldn't cause this. All right, so now we've got some emails. Let's see if they give us the last clue we need. So September, he's getting an email from a pharmaceutical company. Your application for data entry at Good Morning Pharmaceutical. Thank you for interest in the data entry role. We appreciate time and effort. We've decided not to move forward with your application. We received a significant number of applications from qualified candidates, making the selection process extremely difficult. Due to the high volume of applications, we're not able to provide individual feedback. However, we do hope you'll stay connected with us. Keep an eye on our future career opportunities. If a suitable position opens up again, we would be happy to hear from you and consider your application. If you have any feedback, we welcome it. Julian Elliott. And here is an email in October. He's applying to a new job. Thank you for your patience. We've conducted interviews for the analyst role at Cobalt Services with so many amazing candidates. It's been hard to reach a decision. We decided not to move forward with your application. While we are impressed with your qualifications, please know our decision was not a reflection of your abilities or potential. We believe you have valuable skills. We encourage you to continue pursuing opportunities that align with your goals. And if a suitable position at Cobalt Services opens up again, we would be happy to hear from you and consider your application. We value the time and effort you dedicated to the application interview. I mean, these do not seem of any import to us. I think we have now read all the documents. So it seems to me we understand the basic outline of what's gone on here is some supernatural positive attitude thing he has voluntarily signed himself up for to make him have a great attitude and constantly be smiling. And we know that this is the guy that hooked him up with it. But he's starting in December. And it's put a real smile on his face. And it looks like it's getting bigger. It started in January. He's smiling more and more. And it feels like he had to listen to it on the radio. So probably it's this radio station thing. And this guy has hooked him up with it. This is the station you have to listen to. But something went wrong. And it caused like an overdose of this smiling thing. Now, what is this supposed to be? This is just telling us that he's no longer, this is just telling us that he's no longer he's no longer taking his antidepressants. He's just relying on this radio station, which from that photograph was our first early clue that, where is our photograph of that radio station sign behind him? What did we do with that? This one. Tune into XML, but I'm not sure. I don't think XML is what he's listening to, because XML 10 something, and he's not listening to 10 something. I think he's listening to 99.2, and yet this photograph doesn't show him listening to that. But by February 4th, he was involved in it, right? By December 16th, he is involved in this thing. So he needs to listen to it. He says, I can't get my work done. It's cutting out halfway. And this guy says you need to have a ham radio or something. So he's buying a car so he can listen to this. Is this never longer than 10 hours note? The thing about don't go 10 hours without listening to it? Is that what we think? How many hours was he working the day he had the accident? Was it about 10 hours? That's a good question. So we figured out when his... That's a very good question. So we figured out that this was the appointment that he needed to get to at 4 p.m. And here he is working at 6 a.m. Brian. Okay, so he gets to work at 6 p.m. or earlier. And he was supposed to be done here, but he's not. So I think you're making a very good point that he was working almost a 10-hour block. So it sounds like what's gone wrong is he couldn't get himself to the station. He couldn't. But if he's in the car and it crashed, wasn't he listening to it already? Maybe he hadn't even had time to turn it on yet, though. But if he got in his car, you would think he'd be listening to it. By the time it crashes, he's already smiling. Was not concerned. Driver 2 was smiling and did not appear distressed. Then he collapsed. The chat has a theory that maybe he couldn't get to where it was broadcasting. That's an interesting idea. Like, does the address of where the accident occurred give us a clue that he can't get the reception? Is that what it is? Is it that even in his car he needs to be near this broadcast tower or whatever to receive this, and he was rushing to get within range? That's an interesting idea. Okay, but leaving aside some of the details, our theory is that there is some supernatural service that sort of makes you in a happy mood with a big smile on your face. And he's contacted someone who's turned him on to it via these blue Reddit threads. But there's some important little Twilight Zone caveat where if you ever go 10 hours without listening to it, something goes wrong. 10 hours without listening to it, or 10 hours something. And that what's happened is he's played it very close to the wire with this work filling in, and he was rushing to get to the place where he could do the thing that you have to do every 10 hours. And he got into an accident which prevented him from getting there and listening to it. And then that's what's put him into a coma. That sounds like we've got the basics of it. That's a very weird story. So, shall we jump to the questions, and then maybe we will understand a little bit better whether we know everything we need to know once we read the questions. So, where is our sheet? Okay, so here is our sheet. We've got hints we could look at, and we could look at the questions, but let's start by looking at the questions. All right. Okay, why is he smiling? Let's try answering them. Remember, we can change our mind before we submit. Okay, why is he smiling? He's under the effects of a curse. He's under the effects of hypnotism. He's been targeted by a supernatural entity, or his face has been permanently changed. Remember, these questions are a little tricky. They're a little tricky. We don't think it's hypnotism. Do we? I mean, no, because you can't go 10 hours. Seems like... I'm not sure we know the official right answer to this. The questions are sneaky. All right, let's try answering them. He's not happy. He's not face hasn't been permanently changed. We don't think it's hypnotism. We think it's some supernatural. That means it's either 2 or 4. I think we think... Depends what you mean by under the effects of a curse. All right, so chat thinks it's curse is the right answer here. We can go back and change these. Why is he in a coma? Okay, here we go. He was injured in a car accident. No. It's a result of his curse. Yes. Okay, so result of the curse, surely. Next. Who did this to Brian? Okay, so our theory is that it's either A to Z, or that A to Z introduced him to it and he did it voluntarily. It seems like voluntarily is probably the kind of answer that we're looking for. Next question. Okay, this is our final question, so we're not going to click this until we're sure. Why did Brian buy a car? He was getting to work late using the bus. He wanted to show off on social media. He was hypnotized into buying a car, or he wanted it for another reason. We think the answer is he wanted it for another reason, so that he could listen to the radio that he needed to get this programming, right? So, feels like we're reasonably sure about our answers. There's a big, in our previous case, I felt like we were much more confident about all of the important details. It feels like in this case, we've got a very strange thing going on, that we only have a small part of the puzzle. Like, we don't really know the details of this arrangement he made, and we aren't asked what the station is, but that looks like it for us. So it looks like, I mean, if someone asks us what the frequency is, we're going to say it's 99.2, and you have to listen to it every 10 hours. To be honest, while curse seems more appropriate to me, I could see the argument for hypnotism. Yeah, I mean, I don't think hypnotism would put you in a coma, but it's the same basic idea. Like, you gotta listen to the radio to trigger this smile, happy attitude, and you need a refresher every 10 hours. But the strict 10-hour limit and the coma all suggest it's more of a supernatural thing than a hypnotism. I think yeah, I think we've got it. Shall we try submitting this? Does anyone want to disagree with anything before we submit this and read the answers? As a reminder, when we're done, we'll talk a little bit about the case and what we thought. We could check the hints before we submit our answers here if we thought that was important. Jonathan says, I'm fine with submitting. All right, let's submit our answers then and see what happens. Okay, it's not, it's hypnotism. Okay, so we basically got everything right except their answer is hypnotism rather than a curse. I'm not sure there's a way to know the difference. I mean, basically, well, let's read how the official answer goes. Ryan Walters is a hardworking young man who has spent his life going unrewarded for his efforts. In spite of his dedication to his job, he never advanced his retail position due to customers perceiving his resting facial expression as aggressive. He has also struggled with his applications for any other job, is arguing with his long-distance girlfriend over not having enough money for regular visits, and feels guilty over not being able to support his sister, who did all the work caring for their mom when she was suffering from cancer. The combined pressure of these different circumstances has forced Brian to do whatever it takes to improve his performance at his current workplace by magically fixing his face. Luckily for him, or unluckily, as the case may be, he stumbled upon the solution online. A mysterious poster called Ataz came into the comments of Brian's post and recommended a miracle cure for his resting aggressive face. He and Brian spoke clandestinely about the method, deleting some messages and encoding others, but by using the clue in Ataz's own username, A to Z, we can uncover what they were discussing. A supernatural radio station. Through the pictures on Brian's social media, we can piece together that he listened to station 102.9 in the morning, and going by his notes to himself in the car, he also listened to station 99.2. When we use the web to listen to these radio stations, the truth becomes clear. What? We're supposed to have listened to those radio stations? I thought we weren't supposed to listen to I thought we were told that we wouldn't need to go or to go to websites. Well, that's unfortunate. So basically it says you shouldn't have to search or look up information, but when we saw all the ads, I guess we were supposed to decide to actually visit this site. All right, let's do that now. Well, that's unfortunate that we didn't do this. The audio here is not transmitted via AM or FM, but is instead streamed over the internet. You will experience a slight difference in audio quality and lag from live radio. It should only be a few seconds. Okay, so we know that one of the station frequencies is 99.2.
You're listening to XFRN 99.2, a post-workday meditation. Let the stress of the day roll off you. You did a good job today serving the public, but now you can let go. Save that energy up for another happy day tomorrow. Breathe in, visualize yourself taking all the hard work of the day and pulling it out of your face and into your lungs. Now, breathe out and let the tension go with it. Breathe in. Feel the energy of the day exiting you. And breathe out. Fantastic! I'll see you back here tomorrow for another generous day.
All right, well, that doesn't change anything. Would that make us think it's more about hypnotism than some supernatural element? I don't think so. But let's see what the other one was. So the other one was actually a bit of a puzzle because we were supposed to figure out, I suppose, that part of the address is here and the other part is in the other photograph. So we think it might be 102.9. So if we go to 102.9, do we get something?
You're listening to XSML 102.9, the best way to wake up in the morning. Thank you for letting us accompany you on your way to work. It's a brand new day. It's time to put away the worries of your life. There's no more sadness. There's no more stress. There's no more crying. We don't have any time for any of that. When we see someone sad, we get sad. When we see someone happy, don't we smile too? It's time to be that smile for the world. Let's be that smile for our boss, for our co-workers, for the happy public that we are privileged to serve. It is our privilege 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 to serve.
Okay, so pretty creepy audio there, but doesn't really change anything. I don't think if we had listened to that, we would change our answers. I still think because of the supernatural vibe of this world, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we would have. Do you think these greens are... No, these greens are the right answers. Okay. All right. It still wanted us to say hypnotism. However, it says it's a supernatural radio station. Okay, when we use the web to listen to these, the truth becomes clear. We're dealing with a force which on one station hypnotizes its listeners into smiling uncontrollably, and with the other station releases the hypnotism. I see. Whether it is a sentient station existing without being broadcast or yet uncatalogued external finding victims through a radio show is unclear. Either way, Brian seems to have willingly begun to listen to this radio station. So the idea is you what? You listen to the morning one in the morning, which turns you on, and then you have to listen to the other one to get turned off. He used his travel savings to invest in buying a car, since according to Aditas, the hypnotic effect would be strengthened when through a true radio instead of a phone. Strengthened when through a true radio. There's some typos here. Would be strengthened when listened through a true radio instead of a phone. You yourself doubtlessly noticed the weakened effect of the hypnotism when listening to the radio station through the internet. The radio station's hypnotism had one downside, however, as we can see from Brian's note to himself in his car. Never go more than 10 hours. Usually, Brian's schedule was for a maximum of an 8-hour shift, allowing him to listen to the radio station in the morning, then listen to the radio station, the release station, on his way home. The day of the accident, however, Brian's boss Tina asked him to pick up an extra shift. Brian's desire to maximize his profits caused him to fly too close to the sun, leaving only 5 minutes before his 10-hour deadline. The final nail in the coffin was the accident, which destroyed the radio in Brian's new car. Brian scrambled to try to listen to the second radio station somehow, but he couldn't make it in time, falling into a coma with his face still bared in his rictus grin. Okay. So we got a little careless in terms of not visiting that website. Who hung up on the idea of not needing the internet research and not reading carefully enough about we should go to websites. why don't we take a little 5-minute break and then come back and talk about this case, especially compared to the previous case? We'll break for 5 minutes. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me figure out how I feel about it. I'll see you in 5 minutes. We are back. You've just joined me for a 2-hour playthrough of the Grinning Corpse, the second box in the Magnus Protocol Mysteries that we've played. And now we're going to talk about it. I think the chat is actually doing a pretty good job of describing some of the issues, but well, let me try to do my new thing. Let me give a quick spoiler-free review, and then we'll talk about it together with some spoilers. I definitely did not enjoy this case nearly as much as the Woman on Fire case. It felt like a shorter, more shallow case whose questions and wrap-up were not handled with nearly as much subtlety and grace as the previous case we've played. I do like the world here, but I do think this one had some missteps. And most of those missteps, I think, have to do with the way that the solution and the questions are asked and how the answer is delivered, whether you get those questions right or wrong. It's an odd choice. Typically, with these kinds of games, we either have an envelope with a solution so that it's totally offline, and when you guess the answer, you open up and get the answer revealed to us, or it's an online question and answer, and if you get questions wrong, it tells you you're wrong, go back and try again. This is sort of the worst of both worlds, in the sense that there's questions, they're online, but as soon as you submit your answer, you just get told what happened, whether you were right or wrong. It's a missed opportunity. It's so easy to check your answers and not give you the solution and epilogue if you're wrong. I don't know what happened there. I also think there's something odd about these questions and answers. In the previous case we played, they were actually pleasantly tricky. But in this case, we had answers which again felt like, well, it could go either way. Even if you understand everything, you could answer questions slightly differently depending on some ambiguity that the case deliberately doesn't resolve. So I wasn't thrilled with some of the choices made here. I think also the evidence was a little what's the right way to describe it? There was a bunch of evidence here that felt like it was adding almost nothing. This was a very sort of brief, simple case, in which case it felt like we had a lot of evidence that really served no purpose. And that's a little bit of a shame. I feel like they could have thought through this. They could have had more subtlety to this case, more details, more clues to figure out, more details that the questions required us to know. And I feel like here, this is much closer to what I would think you would end up with if you were rushing to finish these cases. Much closer to what I suspected was going to be the case with these boxes, in that, like, it felt like this is half of a case, really. All right, let's check in with the chat now and have a spoiler-filled discussion of what we thought. Jonathan says, it was an enjoyable case. I did remember the rules about visiting other websites. I mean, that's shame on us for forgetting that. But it is very weird that listening to those websites still didn't really answer any of those questions about, is it hypnosis? Is it supernatural? Is it a curse? Like, that's a very weird thing to be asking a question like, is it hypnosis or is it a supernatural curse? and then one of those answers is right and another one is wrong, but then the epilogue tells us it was a supernatural radio station that hypnotized him. I mean, that is very odd storytelling decision. It seems like the question about hypnotism is really saying, is it totally non-supernatural hypnotism or is it a supernatural curse? And so you're given these two choices. Is it like a totally real-world hypnotism case or is it a supernatural curse case? It makes you choose between the two, and then the answer is that it's a supernatural entity that's hypnotizing him. So you shouldn't pick supernatural curse, you should pick hypnotism. I don't understand what's the point in that doing that? What is the point in having such an ambiguous question where the answer could fall in between? And I think Jonathan was sort of getting at what he thinks motivates these questions, that perhaps the person writing the questions is so concerned with leaking information in a question that they're deliberately trying to make these as ambiguous, as close to being multiple answers as possible. I'm not sure there's any real benefit to that. And then there's it's a very weird thing that the questions didn't really, like, we missed listening to these websites and yet we still understood, we could still figure out what was happening. But then there were all these details that seemed like maybe it would have been important to understanding the case, like what's the 10-hour thing, what did he miss, what was the deadline, that we never got asked. So a little bit weird. The Spaminate says, really, they could just ask us the questions, have us write out an answer, and then give us the correct answers so we can compare our thoughts. It seems a bit risky for it being an easier difficulty case to have the second hidden radio station, because I think if you found the first one, there'd be a good chance you overlooked the second one. I think that's absolutely true. It's also weird to me, very weird, that you didn't really need to find those websites to understand what was going on, and finding the websites really didn't give you much information. It would have been more, I think, it would have been a better designed case. Like if you were writing, if someone came to me and gave me this case as it is, I think I would say this. I would say something like this. The story idea that you have to listen to this radio in the morning to trigger it, and then if you don't listen to this other station at the end of the evening, you get killed. I would say, okay, embrace that, make that important for the players to figure out, and figure out they have to listen to one in the morning and one at the night, and then weave that into the story better. Like, make the messages on the radio much more lined up with that. Make that an important concept that the players have to figure out. Make that a logic of this crazy world that you have to get programmed in the morning and deprogrammed at the end. Put that information in the clues better. Ask a question about that. And make it so that if the players don't figure that detail out, that they can't get the questions right. And then I would very much suggest that they fix the question and answer thing so that you get tested, and if you're wrong, it sends you back out. And this question about supernatural versus hypnosis, that's no good. That's no good. Susanna says, vague on why he slipped into a coma. I can see the reason for the smile, but why does it knock him unconscious? I agree, that's not explained. I think part of the nature of these cases is that a big chunk of them aren't explained, but I do think that's something that's lacking here. It would be nice to have, in this case at least. In the previous case, I felt like we got enough, we figured out enough and had enough clues about enough that we could fill in the details. This one felt a little thin on details, and I think it would have been better to have those details filled out. And also, I think you could do better with the evidence. Like, we didn't need all those multiple job application stuff, and some of the text messages seem pointless. I think they would have done better to, if the enjoyable part of the story is this supernatural radio station, if that's the part of the story that's so interesting, I think it would have behooved the writers to have more of that story told. Like, if we could read him writing to his wife, his girlfriend, about how he's discovered some weird thing, or have notes to himself where he's talking about, can this be real? Like, we need a little more time spent in the supernatural element. John says, the level 2 case, I'm more concerned that the website is too easy to miss, especially the second radio station. I think that's right. I do think that as a bigger picture issue to solve when you're writing a case like this, I think that's worth dwelling on for a second. It should be that you need to figure out that second website and that second radio station to listen to. That should make things click into place. And you have to structure the case so that players can't get to the end and answer it and proceed having missed that. There has to be a way to catch the player from answering the questions and reading the epilogue without having seen listened to that second radio station, or in our case, either of the radio stations. And a classic way you do that is you have a question that can only be answered if they've listened to that second radio station. For example, if the second radio station said, like the key, the code phrase at the end of the second radio broadcast could say, remember, the code phrase is, happiness everlasting. And then one of the questions can be like, what is the code phrase? And then if you got to that, you'd be like, okay, we missed something because we don't even know how to answer this question about the code phrase. And so we better keep looking for something that's going to tell us the code phrase. So there has to be some way to gate people from getting to that end point, especially getting to that end point and getting and understanding it all when you had this big chunk of the story. I also think it was a missed opportunity to not have those radio broadcasts be a little more creepy and interesting. That last one got a little bit, started to get a little bit creepy, which was nice. But I think for something like this, where the story is the thing, I wanted a little more story too. A little more interesting parts of the story. All right, well, short and not the best, but it's still fun to be in a supernatural world. It's still an enjoyable enough case, and I do like that we've got these supernatural elements, so I am looking forward to the next one. Any final thoughts from the chat before we move along here and sign off? Jonathan says, I'm not sure, in my opinion, the question systems seem that different from the previous case. There was still some ambiguity in those, and everyone got some answers wrong. Yeah, I agree. I like that they're trying so hard to make the questions tricky. I just don't, it's a weird case where I don't quite understand what the point is of having multiple answers, which don't really seem like they're picking apart whether you understood the case or not. They're more like, here are the multiple answers that depend on how you interpret the question and answer. It shouldn't be that way. Ideally, the question should be so subtle that if you really understand it, you get it right. But if you kind of misunderstood it, you would get it wrong. But what we're seeing here is questions where you could understand it 100%, but depending on your interpretation of the word supernatural curse or hypnotism, you would argue one way or another. Don says, I think there might be an issue of us trying to read too much into a simple level case. Maybe. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. I am looking forward to playing a harder level case in this series and seeing how it goes. A little bit of a mixed bag with the Magnus Protocol Mysteries so far. One I really loved, one not that great. But I think playing a harder case will tell us where we really stand here. Thanks for joining me. Now, I will see some of you on Sunday for the next letter in our Deadbolt Mystery Society Letters from a Ghost Hunter. It's possible I'll get on Saturday and play a little bit of Unboxed. I'm kind of itching to try the next level in the Unboxed puzzle game. I'll see you all next time.